Today I'm joined by an actor who does more than just bring dynamic, colorful characters to life on our screens. He also brings that same passion to music. And I'm really, really excited to sit down and talk with him a little bit both. Colin Sutherland, welcome to Verdi Chat with Mads.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I now understand why you were warning me that people tear up when you do that. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be
Oh,
here, madam.
I'm glad. I'm going to dive right in, otherwise I'll just get really sentimental and start crying.
Yeah, yeah, do it up, do it up.
Can we start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I am originally from Seattle, Washington, over in the upper left corner of the US. But I moved over to New York to study acting. Um, I've been sort of doing acting ever since I was a kid. I won some acting lessons from a playwriting contest when I was like 8. That the Seattle Times, our big for us newspaper, was holding, and was really lucky to have to have some lessons there, and yeah, just kind of carried on with it. Uh, Until I was studying abroad in Paris and was at a mime-ish school. They get really mad if you call them mimes. They're not actually mimes. It's l'École Internationale Jacques Lecoq, for all of the theater buffs keeping track. But I tore a ligament in my wrist, and they were like, "That's lovely that you showed up, but you got to leave." And during that leave, I studied opera and voice and sort of classical music there. And came back, finished up uni in New York, got straight out of university and was like, yeah, I just want to do music. I don't want to do any I don't want to do any acting. Well, I'll get back to that in a bit. Um, so like kind of played in kind of scrappy rock bands for a bit until I discovered that you could actually make money if you did commercials or film work. And then I was like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And so yeah, I've been sort of trying to see how much of my life I can keep in either music or uh, theater or film, but mostly film these days. Ever since.
Which one do you feel more passionate about at the moment, though?
Oh man, hard hitting already.
Sorry.
No, 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 you're good. You're good. Um, I right, I'm a little more in film mode right now. Um, don't tell my bandmates who I was at rehearsal earlier with that. Well, I'm really sort of split because for film you need and for acting in general, you need a really free schedule. You need to be available, yesterday. Uh, how could you possibly have had something booked, And music, every once in a while they're like, "Oh yeah, can you play this gig tonight?" But that doesn't actually happen. I think that's happened to me maybe twice in my life. And so for the most part, they're like, "Yeah, you're going to play a show in 3 months." And so you have all this like run up to it, and so
Yeah.
trying to sort of balance the time for those two things is a bit tricky. I'm really lucky now that I have enough paid music work and enough paid film work that I don't have to do that juggling as much, but it does make me really nervous, especially booking music shows because I'm sort of like, but what if I have to go do a
Yeah.
film sort of bit? But I think I am really excited about sort of the dir I'm not well, not necessarily the direction, but the opportunity that especially the vertical world shows. Because I mean, as I'm sure that you've heard from a lot of people, like everyone's like, great, we can actually just get something made, and we can get something
Yeah.
made in like under a month. And it can be out in like one
Yeah.
to,
Another month.
another month, maybe, like 3 months max, or something. Like I think I was waiting for something to come out for maybe a few months. And I had to sort of like slow my roll and be like, like for film, this is like 2 years. Like this,
Yeah.
you gotta really, like, if you can't wait your way through 3 months, you're gonna want to, you gotta figure out something to do.
Well,
go
some are waiting
go
for
play
theirs
Tetris.
for like a year.
Yeah, no, I think I just like yeah, I think a director I know, I think just had something come out like a year after he filmed it or something like that. But I mean, I mean, for sort of like the established film industry as we know it, that's pretty normal, right? Like that's
Yeah,
pretty good. Um, but I think I definitely have been a bit spoiled with the pace of how fast you can turn stuff around. You're like, great, I did this thing, and also everyone can see it, in
yeah,
a relatively short time, which
yeah.
is like,
It's like it's coming out in a couple of weeks. Get ready for it. Like,
yeah. You can actually get psyched about it. Like even faster than I've like got. I mean, I've definitely recorded music and waited way longer than waited like
yeah.
4, 6 years or something to put actually like stick something out. Which is my bad. That also like if you can wait that long, it means no one's like clamming for it. No one's banging down your door if you can wait that long. Maybe Tool, but other than that, like there's not that many there's not that many people who are like, yeah, no, we really want that thing. We're like, oh, good, it'll be 6 years. Um,
Well, I think that's why I like verticals so much is because, I'll be talking to you right now and you could be like, I filmed a vertical last week. I'll let me know your thoughts in like, I don't know, 3 weeks when it comes out. Or it's like if you were
yeah,
talking to like, an A-lister, they'll
yeah,
be like,
yeah,
oh, I just finished filming whatever that they were working on. You'll see it in 2 years. And then they won't
yeah,
even remember this conversation that we have right now.
yeah. Well, they have to. I mean, I think there's probably a whole art to that, right? Where they have to be like, all right, no, I remember. You have to come up with all the anecdotes that were like, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and still be excited about it because it's coming out now.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
Christmas, other whatever other big like filmy holidays. I don't know. In the States, things used to come out a lot around July 4th. I don't know if they do anymore.
Mm.
Um, but neither one of us are the right demographic for this. Um,
Oh, definitely not.
but no, it is really nice that it's also I think that's one of the reasons why it's changing so quickly. Is that there is really high, fast output and really immediate feedback.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
and it's great that like you can it that feedback is helping everybody, even if it doesn't. It maybe seems like it's taking a while to be received. At least from at least from the limited stuff that I'm hearing. Like the apps and stuff, like they do take it seriously. Um, which is nice, because like they should. There's
Yeah.
no there's none of this without people watching it.
Oh no,
Otherwise, it's
not at
just
all.
us looking, a little bit, playing pretend into the void, and that's a different show.
Well, that's like somebody could have an opinion on an A-lister's performance in a certain movie, but that was 2 years ago. They
Yeah,
could have like, I don't know, improved since then, and then they would get all the hate 2 years later.
yeah.
Like for a
Yeah. I
performance that
mean,
they did like 2 years ago when they could have like hella
oh
improved
man.
since then.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, they're like, no, please, I've taken lessons. You need to trust me.
It's like, stop, just wait, I got more work coming out. Like
Yeah. Like if you hated that, we'll just wait till you see this. It'll be good.
3 years later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, someone was saying, I think it was somebody on a podcast for Sharon TV or something like that. That they were wondering if they were going to start to see, sort of known Hollywood film and television faces start to appear in verticals. And so the person who was being interviewed, I'm not remembering who said this. Sorry for whoever I'm about to approximately quote. They're like, yeah, they probably will. I think that the world's probably about to do sort of like a wibbly wobbly thing and kind of, like phase into each other a
Yeah.
little bit. Which is pretty, yeah, it is, it does seem inevitable, but who knows? I don't know.
And
There are a lot of people in LA who have a bit much more accurate perception of this timeline than I'm going to have.
But like I don't know how I feel about that. It's because like I think the reason that I picked up verticals is because of the community and like what you guys bring. If I wanted to watch their performances, I would be watching movies.
Yeah. That's I appreciate that. That's an interesting perspective, I think, because like that's like we sort of talked about a little bit when we were first chatting about doing this, because like I have like I have a lot of friends in a lot of like sort of like DIY punk scenes, and they're not they might also go to like like a style of music that has become popular. Like they're not necessarily gonna like boycott a show because a band has
Mm,
become too big. I feel like for the most part, people, I feel like I've kind of outgrown that trope, for the most part. But, like half the fun, there's something so cool about showing up. Like it makes my night if I show up and like get my mind blown by a band that I had no idea I was gonna see, Like that's,
yeah.
like, oh great, that's like there's this Swedish band called I'm in Denmark for context if I didn't say that already. So I'm not just popping off to Sweden for fun. It's a train ride. It's not very long. It's not very far away. But there's a Swedish band called Tears of the Fat Man, I think, who I saw at like a venue's birthday party festival, and they're fantastic. If anybody like any fans of Viagra Boys who may or may not be on this channel, I'm not sure. It might be maybe the wrong demographic. I'm gonna find out in a second. But like they're it's just really fun, like goofy punk rock, I guess. Uh, but like they like like I admit like getting to see them when I wasn't at all like I sort of knew some of the bands in the bill. But getting to see something like that, you're like, no, that's great. It's always gonna do it.
I'll have to give them a listen.
Yeah, do it.
I am gonna backtrack like a little bit, but it's gonna be on like the music.
Yeah,
You studied opera?
briefly. Um, briefly.
Like,
My
why
my my
opera?
poor my poor opera teacher. Uh, wishes I studied more. Apologies to Miss Karen Akampura Nimarella, who is a lovely opera teacher. She studied under an Italian tenor named Franco Corelli, who I believe I never got too technical into what the names of things probably are. I'm very much a like just kind of like to do it person, and I don't get too
Yeah.
caught up in like the names of techniques of things, much to the chagrin of anyone who's ever taught me them. But yeah, she happened to be in Paris when I was there. And she may still split her time between New York and Paris. And an acting teacher of mine knew about her, and so when sort of word got back out to her that I was no longer going to be in this sort of theater movement school, I don't know, like I'd always had a hunch that I could sing, but I'd never really, I don't know, I've like never had like an authority tell me. Which seems like
Yeah.
a little bit of an odd, validation to sort of be waiting for, particularly for someone who's mostly been in rock bands for a while. But it was really that foundation, sort of like just learning how to use my body and all of that.
Mm.
That gave me, yeah, that gave me the start to be like, oh, okay, maybe this is something I can do. And then I, took lessons with her for about as long as I could afford, and then kind of winged it from there. Sorry, Karen.
Mhm.
But it really did help. I really like a lot of I like a lot of different kinds of music, but especially when I was growing up, a lot of the music that was out, a lot of the male singers had really grungy, raspy voices, and especially coming from Seattle, like, everything's, very Eddie Vedder growly, and I don't have that. And so it took me a minute to figure out how I could still be um, how I could be in bands that sometimes sounded more sort of grungy or sometimes sounded more sort of stadium-y. I was in sort of like a Jane's Addiction sounding very like glam band for a bit for like now, I mean now I play primarily in a rockabilly band. Uh one rockabilly band and then one um, post-punk band. But with a post-punk band, I love them, but I'm basically an auctioneer on steroids. Like I'm not even really singing. I'm just sort of speaking, semi-absurdist poetry really quickly. Um, so it's a very different. It's really fun, but it uses none of that deer opera training that I had. None.
It just got me when you're like, I'm an auctioneer on steroids.
Somebody, yeah, well, someone who saw one of our live performances was just like, "Yeah, this is like if an auctioneer had made music," and I was like, "Thank you. Yeah, that's correct." Right. We would play around for a bit with sort of like a salesman shtick because we were sort of very fortunately because I used to sort of play in a lot of bands where it was a little bit sort of like heavier and
Mhm.
maybe more gloomy, and we really luckily sort of locked onto like a sense of humor that sort of fit really well, and it fit really well with what we were trying to get across, and it was really a huge relief because then we could just relax and have fun with it, And and like, and at the very least, it may not be sonically everybody's cup of tea, but we could be sure that at least was going to be entertaining. So, we tried to just kind of focus on that, but
I like a bit of, yeah, the comedy side of music.
yeah. Well, I think it's good
Like
to.
the lyrics, I don't know.
Well, I think it's good. Like, I mean, like Tenacious D style, or sort of like what are you thinking when you think of like sort of comedy side of music, or just like sort of having a like not being too up, like sort of like in your own head.
Yeah. Like, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, I like those like deep and meaningful songs, but there's
yeah,
a, for me, there's a time and a place.
yeah.
And then I don't know.
Well,
And
it's not.
then when I think of like other songs, it's like I don't know, I like to have a laugh when I listen to a song too. It's
Yeah,
not just in like acting, like
yeah.
that's just me.
Well, because like if you were right, because like I mean, music or performance wise, like if what you're consuming all the time is like a big if
Yeah,
it's like the if it's like the acting literal equivalent of a like a big dramatic Hamlet monologue or the music equivalent of a really dramatic Hamlet monologue, right? Like
yeah,
you're kind of like, oh wow, yeah, this is great for making coffee first thing in the morning. Like you're gonna have a really messed up day. Um,
yeah.
and
Like the
if that
upbeat.
yeah, and maybe like I I'll listen to almost anything at any time of day or night, as you probably could have guessed. But if that's the morning, like it's I feel like especially like first thing in the morning, it's like it's up to you a little bit to decide what you want to put, in your dome. And if it's the Hamlet monologue, then go for it. But I would not blame you at all if you wanted something a little bit lighter.
There's I like songs that I don't know tell a story.
Yeah.
I know that most songs obviously do tell us like tell a story, but
Mm.
I know this it's really hard to explain what I'm trying to right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that
But
most. Sorry, no, go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, you go because I'm
No,
still
no,
thinking.
all right. Well, interrupt me anytime. I think that especially having a story is the quickest way to to get any music, but particularly like at least for me, specifically new music, like
Mm,
into my brain, and for me to be like, oh, I like this. Like there's
yeah,
always like whenever someone's coming out with a new album, there's always a story pitch. They're like unless it's music for whom the target audience is we're really excited that this one particular instrument is on it, we're like like all the synth nerds are like woohoo, there's one synth that I've been waiting for on this. But if you are trying to spin it more as like, oh, it's like a sci-fi based
yeah,
album from the perspective of a robot that's being shot out into space forever, then everyone's like, oh, okay. Well, we know we're doing, like it's up to you if you want to listen to
yeah,
it, but you know what you're dealing with.
yeah. Like for me, it's I like country music, but
Mm.
a certain type. Because there's, I don't know, the country music that's coming out at the moment is very like stereotypical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, country is, I mean, traditionally, right? It's like the masters of the craft, and especially the storytelling craft. Like, there's a whole genre of especially like country music that's made for driving in your car. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's a certain tempo because that's the tempo you want to be driving to, and when you click it on, it works. It works so well. You know, it's
I feel like I drive faster. Like
yeah, 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 yeah. That's how you get to Sydney in 3.5 hours.
sure,
Uh, you can edit that
but
part out
yes.
if you want. Yeah. But yeah, but like it's like by the time that it hits the radio station, like it's weaponized. Like
Oh yeah.
it's been through all of the sharpening and the fine tuning. But I think that a little bit of what we're finding, what I'm guessing is sort of what you're describing that you're hearing now is that like it's they've taken it a bit too far. It's a bit too
Yeah.
factory settings. You gotta like I feel like there's the I mean some of it also is like we like musically we have so much technology now or
Mm.
like well we've always had music, we've always had a certain amount of technology, but the technology is so flexible now that we can cram maybe too many sounds into it. You don't
Yes.
have you're not limited to like 8 tracks or 16 tracks or whatever it is. Like there's like 500 tracks on this thing. They're all squished way down, so so
Yeah.
it's all like kind of coming through. And I mean that's all good, but if you have the right just like the right, there's something about like I've always really admired like Jack White's sort of like approach of leaving the imperfections in, because you're like, yeah, but that's also like that's what's going to make it sound like that take or that
Yeah.
song or that thing. That's what make very often that's what makes like the right take. The right take is it's the one where you spilled the coffee cup all over the desk or something like that.
Yep.
I'm gonna move my tea further away from my computer as I say that.
You glazed over that you wrote a play.
Oh, when I was 8, yeah.
Like why did that come about? Like what inspiration
Uh,
did you have at 8 years old that made you want to write a play? I was out playing in the dirt.
well, I had a lot of friends, as you can tell. Well, I had it like when I was, yeah, when I was like 7 or 8, this is a little more age appropriate. I was just really obsessed with wolves. I liked wolves a lot. Um, really liked wolf sort of documentaries, like anything. I just, yeah, I just like, I was a 7-year-old boy and I thought wolves were cool. And there were a lot of fairy tales and stories in which the wolf was always like the villain. And I didn't like that. So in response to that, in second or third grade, I wrote what I tried to make as the opposite of Little Red Riding Hood. So I went very literal on it, and it was called Little Gold Tutu and the Small Bad Cow, because I literally just like tried to flip everything around from whatever Riding Hood was. Um, and it was someone in a golden tutu who had to deal with an evil cow villain. Um, I don't know if my I should ask and see if my mom actually has a copy of that anywhere. I kind of doubt it.
I love that. That's so
But
cool.
it was well, it was. Like I remember sort of very precociously like going up to my like primary school teacher and sort of being like, here, I wrote this play, you can put this on. And he was like, you could like you can put it on, but he didn't say it like that. He said it in a very encouraging way. He was like, oh well, why don't you put that on? um so I kind of went, okay, and worked with some classmates, and like we did a little production of it. It was great. They played along. It was very nice. It went about as well as any play that you can think that's made up of third graders goes. Everyone goes out, screams their lines, and and gets
I love that.
and gets off stage, which is just in the middle of the classroom because it's not really it's I don't we didn't have an auditorium. And but yeah, I think I wrote to the, into the contest people that but yeah, that I had put on this play. And here it was, sort of, like proper like snail mail sent it in. I don't think we emailed it. Uh and and it was, and like myself amongst like 8 to 10 other kids like all won this thing. Like it wasn't, they weren't like, this is the manuscript, this is the what we've all been waiting for. But it was great. Like a bunch of we all got to choose some sort of acting class, and then they also had us all do like a playwriting course. Um where I guess I wrote a second play. I don't remember as much about that one. I think I phoned it in. Um, if I'm honest. It was very nice of them to give me the opportunity to do so. I don't think I've written a play since. Maybe written like some monologues, but I don't think I've written a play since. It's been a long
Would you
dry
ever want to
spell.
like would you ever want to like rewrite that script and like see what you could come up with now?
Oh man. Yeah. I should, like, I feel like I should now almost. I have a couple small nieces who would be about the target audience. But also, I think that like I really appreciate, like when I was like in university, I was very uber serious and very much like, and now we're going to do theater, and like everything was very, I mean, I still wear a lot of black turtlenecks, but like everything was very, and now we will employ the following technique, until I realized that like you're just kind of playing pretend, and whatever works works.
Yeah.
And now, especially when it comes to theater, I am very, very pro anything that I just want to see what I can get away with.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that's a really good idea. I'll have to crack that one open maybe, because yeah, some friends and I we're trying to think of just like really ridiculous scenarios, like Waiting for Godot, but with like the Paul brothers or something like that. Just like we were just trying to think of like what's the stupidest thing we can do that's also borderline highbrow theater, and like how can we zero this in? Um, we haven't gotten any funding yet, but I'll let you know on how
Yes,
that
please
one
do.
goes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But I think at this point I just get very mischievous when it comes to theater, or when it comes to anything where, especially, I know I have my own sort of history of pretension, and so it's I don't know. It was like, all right, well, I know that everyone's going to take this very seriously, so I just kind of want to see what I can poke holes in.
I'm just gonna ask like
Yeah,
the generic vertical questions.
do it. We'll see if I can remember my own answers, right? Let's see.
How and when did you find them?
I first discovered verticals when I was reading the script for one that I had been hired to do in, I want to say, August 24. Yeah. So I didn't know at all what I was going into, which I think is everyone's answer to this question. Um, I didn't know what it was, and we showed up and we had to learn our lines really quickly, and then it turns out a lot of people are actually watching these, is sort of the general arc, I think. But it's sort of that. I don't, no one, I don't think very many people saw that one. But that's also right, because I was sort of figuring out what the form was even.
Hmm.
I didn't really know what it was, because like I think I had like a flight and hotel tickets before I had the script, and so on the flight I'm reading the script and kind of going, huh, all right. I don't. All right, this is okay. Yeah, that's what happens, and then that's what happens, and then that's what happens. And I think like the first, you know, the first take, or the first sort of scene that we did, like it was going sort of okay, and then the director was like, "You're gonna have to play that up. Uh, like we can't see what you're doing. I need you to. I
Get
need.
bigger.
Yeah, yeah. We need bigger. And that was my first clue as to a little bit of what I was getting into. Um, and I think I probably did the second one not too long after, and it helped a little bit. Like I'd sort of gotten a little more used to, all right, these are what these are. This is, the pace, which I mean, for like, I don't know if you've talked to anyone who works on soap operas, but those are even faster. So it's not, it's not like the major leagues of sprinting.
Mm.
But it feels like it when you're in it. So you're gonna go like I think, that like day three of the first one that we were doing, I think about it was like a 16-hour day, which is not as bad as some people have, but it's longer than we typically go in the States. Usually like 12 to 14 is what we're shooting. And I remember sort of like going through and I had found like a bottle of like cold brew concentrate and I was just drinking it straight. Like I was just to like look at lines, drink cold brew, go do the thing, come back, ask what scene we were doing. On my way back in, try and find that, like look at the line, try and learn the scene like as I'm changing into the costume, and then we go do it. But it was great fun, like I like when you can get it, like I was able to hold that rhythm about until 4 a.m. when the cold brew wore off, or like 4 or 5 a.m. and I have this like exposition-y monologue and I'm
Yeah.
not nailing it, and the poor director just had to work with what she got because the sun came up. Like we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We couldn't,
Yeah.
the light changed too much. We couldn't do anymore. So I think they graciously cut around me trying to hold my brain together after 16 hours. Um, but
That's a
like
really long time.
yeah, it's a bit long. I don't mind now. Like now, I think in like apart from the ones I don't necessarily I haven't been to China to shoot, so I don't know necessarily, but I've heard that they'll do that or longer sometimes. Most of the ones, at least in Europe, and most of the ones in the States, as far as I'm aware, they'll shore it up a bit. Like, I think maybe 14 hours is kind of long. Anyone can correct me on that. I'm not the authority on that, but that's my guess. But but you
It's
can get a lot
still a long
done.
time.
It's a long time, but you can get a lot done in 14 hours, and I'm a lot better when I have sort of like one mission that I can like zero in
Yeah.
on. Uh,
Yeah.
if I'm too scattershot, then I just don't know where I am. So I don't mind doing that as long as I can get into a rhythm and as
Yeah.
long as I can keep my caffeine intake pretty solid. Yeah,
Amen.
yeah.
Amen. Which one was your first one?
My first one it was called Baked with Love, and it was an early, I think, one for Drama Pops. Um, They at the time now, well, no, now they work with a number of production companies. But they were working with a company called Depot Films in Istanbul in Turkey, who I don't know if they had done verticals before or not. I don't. I could ask them. They tend to specialize in feature films and commercials. So I
Mm.
don't know. They might do some TV series. But I mean, it was nice because like like it looked really good. Like they had really good,
Mm.
like I was blown away by how warm everybody was, how friendly everybody was, how professional everybody was. I'd never been to Turkey before.
Mm.
I love Turkey. Mostly talking about Istanbul. Sorry, rest of Turkey. I just haven't been there. But like Istanbul is one of my favorite cities in the world. Just the hospitality, the humor, combined with a work ethic, because
Mm.
they're working really long days. They've shorted it down now to I think it's more 12 to 14-hour days, but we were doing 16-hour days um, in I think the first two that I did. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, not for
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
it.
Like I'm good with like little amounts of sleep, but
Yeah,
working that long, no.
yeah. You do have to definitely. I mean, like in 100%. No, I don't think they necessarily need defending, but like in their defense, they did let us sleep. Like I mean, the crew was
Yeah.
all like union. So 16 hours with the hard cut off. Everybody got enough time to sleep if you were good at sleeping. I've gotten better, but I wasn't very good then. Um, it's a skill I'm working on. Um, but yeah, I think but I mean we churn it out in like 4 days, 3 days.
Eh?
Yeah, 3 or 4 days. Um, Yeah, yeah. You just gotta. I mean, some of them are day shoots, some of them are night shoots, so you kind of pack them in differently. Now, I mean, like the same, an equivalent company now would probably shoot that in about 7 days, like 6 or 7,
Mm.
which is probably healthier for everybody involved.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like some union rep is going, don't say this. I don't mind sprinting through. Uh, but that's I think that's the like what I learned in New York is just like just kind of log in, go do it.
Yeah.
Um
Get in, get it
'Cause-
done.
yeah, and I like to work. I don't like I mean I like to joke, I do like to mess about, but I do like to get stuff done. And if 4 days is the proper time to do it, then great. But it's better for everybody. Like no one there's a reason I'm not setting the pace. Um it's not better and it's not good in the long run, and especially if you're one of these people who's stacking these like week after week after week, then it's really not healthy to do that. And I think that like I can imagine that it's really hard to try and balance like animal care or child care or whatever you've got going on at home, because
Yeah.
this is such a it's great that there's this much work. But I do think that there's a bit of an undercurrent of like, well, yeah, it's not going to be like this forever. Like
No,
everyone's
I
for
feel
the
like
most part been
everybody's
an
rushing.
actor. Yeah, everyone's been an actor long enough by this point that to know, or if
Yeah.
not, then this is going to be an interesting ride for anyone else. But
Everybody's rushing to do as much as they can because they don't know how long it's going to last.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think that is, there's well, it's like any rush, right? Where there's all of a sudden there's, sort of an accidental, what seems like an accidental bubble. It's all obviously like already like fully, sort of like proofed and
Yeah.
tested over in many parts of Asia, comes over to the States and everyone's like, woo, we discovered a new thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And, do everyone climbs on board but then all of a sudden was like, oh, new, great, a lot of work. And then just, brrr, as much as you can.
Yeah.
And I think now is really going to be the really interesting part, because now we have, a chance to kind of like diversify a little bit of what we're doing, tell some different stories, try and play with the form a little more.
Yeah.
It has to happen because it can't. I mean, at least the feedback that I'm hearing is that, people have binged everything already. People have seen everything already.
I'm one of those people
Yeah.
almost, except for the last 3 months worth of content.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah. Well, because yeah, there's only and I think that my guess is this isn't a groundbreaking revelation, but like what's really making these things work is the story structure and the pacing,
Mm.
not the tropes necessarily. The tropes are fun if you know what you're doing with them and you want to lean into them, or if that's what the audience is looking for in that specific thing, right? Like, if you want to, if you eat burgers, if you want a burger, like sometimes you just want a burger, you don't, it doesn't have to be, necessarily something, floral and going all over some other place. But maybe, you've had enough of that and that's you're in the mood for something different, but I think that the need for variety is really going to underscore that what is working in this format is really smart writing. It makes our job
Mm.
so much easier.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
like,
Especially
yeah,
with those translations. Holy moly. It's like,
yeah, yeah. 100%. Yeah, I can. for those of us who yeah who end up, I mean, I like we can tell if there we can tell where the translation line is,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's interesting, right? Because I think that there is such a it's interesting to see how stuff gets interpreted across different cultures, and I think that was really fascinating.
Mm.
But if you're not careful with the localization, it may not lead to the end product that you had in mind.
Hmm.
And that's a lesson that I think if they aren't learning it now, they're gonna learn it in the next 6 months.
Yes. Roughly how many verticals have you been in? Or do you know exactly how many?
I haven't been in that many, so it's pretty easy. I've been in five.
Are they all out except for the one that you mentioned before?
There's one
Like
that's not out. All the four I've been in five, four are out. I have no idea when that other one's coming out. I'll be excited to see it. That like everyone was lovely to work on with it, but I have no idea when it's coming out. I didn't even know when the last two were coming out. Like the last two came out within like a week and a half of each other. Uh, and I was really, but part of it was one of them was a Christmas one, and so they had to hit the timing for Christmas, so it makes perfect sense.
that was
Uh,
the one with Leif and Mariah, hey?
yeah, 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 yeah. Because I mean, we shot that in early November, and so that was a pretty quick turnaround for that. Early November, late October, early November. Um, I was lucky enough to go down to Istanbul like for enough times that I was just joking a little bit um with some of the people down there last fall because I think by like the third time one of my friends down there was like, I've seen you more than I've seen my own mother in the last like in the last month. Uh I was like, yeah, that's yeah,
Oh.
I've definitely seen him more than I've seen my mother in in the last months. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a great time down there. I always have a blast with them. But yeah, five is the short answer to your question.
I will come back to the one, the what is it, the Grease Stained Billionaire one. I've just got
Yeah,
one more
that.
question before
Yeah,
before that
yeah,
one.
yeah. Do it up.
What has been your favorite role so far?
Ooh, mm, that is tricky. I mean, that one is up there. I think my favorite role probably was playing George in Till Divorce Do Us Part. Um, most it was for a combination of reasons. I got to do an accent that was different from mine. Um, I'm still waiting to get ripped for that. So I was like, there's no way anyone's going to believe I'm English. Um, but it was written into the script, at least from my perspective.
Mm,
I think it's I should ask the screenwriter actually. But when I was reading it and when I auditioned for it, like it seemed because I mean sort of how my entryway into verticals in general, I'm pretty sure was you're an actor, you have an American accent, and you're on this continent. Um, great, and so it was kind of a nice it was a nice change to get to do an accent that's not my own because there's not I feel like there's I mean there are some English verticals but they're still pretty American accent dominated I think
mm,
um but also the combination of getting to do a different accent really getting to play a character who's so far away from who I am in real life and because it was comedy like it was just the Grease 10 Billionaire was maybe a little more slapsticky um but the comedy beats were all still were all there. Um,
mm,
when I auditioned for it, I think I did because I I think I just done a role. I just auditioned for something where I had to be English, and but for him, I was reading it, and I sort of thought sort of like originally sort of like New York Upper East Side, sort of
mm,
transatlantic. So I kind of went midway, and I think I went a little too
mm.
far. Because then um, uh, Danny Farber, who's the lovely director, lovely human to work with, I ran into him on the hotel stairs. I was going down to work out. I think maybe he was coming back up. Uh, and I hadn't met him in person before, and so hi, and he kind of went like, ah, you're. It was lovely to meet, but he was like, I could see his sort of brain. I think
Yeah.
Danny, correct me if I'm wrong here. His brain go, you're American and you're blonde. For some reason, I didn't know either one of those things was going to be true. I mean, I'm not blonde now, but I was at the time, and I remember kind of like in my head going like, no, no, it's okay, we can fix this. And so like, talking to him at the costume fitting, like I think later that day, and I was like, yeah, we can just dye it. It's fine. They dyed it before. For like they for what for a for one of the other roles I had had previously, like they were like, can we dye whatever the blonde thing is going on? Can we get rid of that? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna dye it something stupid later. So yeah, sure, that's fine. And then we kind of
I
talked.
love that.
Yeah, and then we kind of talked through, the accent bit, and because he was like, I thought you were English, and I was like, that's very kind of you. I am absolutely not. But George can be English if you would like. I hope. And so, and so we're like, yeah, sure, let's just make him English. So myself and Claire Louise Frost, who played my mother in that, just sort of accent locked in for the remainder of that. She's great in that. You should talk to her if you get a chance. She's a great one to talk to.
Let me write her name down.
Yeah, Claire Louise Frost, or maybe just Claire Frost for acting stuff. But um, I was realizing it's been a year of me having working with other actresses whose middle name is Louise. So Sophie Rankin's middle name is also that, apparently. Sophie, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's on Instagram as well. So I don't know, maybe that was the theme for this year. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, in my opinion, the the villains get more to work with in the script. Um, and I,
They have a more emotional range that I've seen anyway.
yeah, there will, because there's, I mean, there's some of them, some of them that I'm guilty of as well, where like sometimes like, the ask is to show up and just
Hmm.
kind of smolder and disagree.
Yep.
Um, and there is that, but because a lot of the villain characters have to move the plot along forward with sort of a ideally a range. Ideally it's not just like a 1-2 sort of thing, or like I'm bad, just kidding, no, bad again. Like ideally it's a little
Yeah.
more nuanced than that. Like that's where a lot of sort of like the meat is, and a little more of the complexity that you can get.
Mm.
I do think we're going to see a lot more of that on all fronts. Um, and that's one way in which like Leif and Mariah really do a good job of
Mm.
of bringing that complexity. Um, and like it shows. It shows when it's in the script. It shows when people actually bring it. It shows when people put it in there when it's not in script.
Yes.
Which can be a tricky thing to navigate. Depending, there are a lot of great scripts out there. There's also just a lot of sometimes situations that maybe you find out in the moment, you're like, oh wait, but that does that make sense?
Mm.
And then you kind of get to go through the mental gymnastics of, do can I talk to somebody about this, or
Yeah.
do I have to make this work?
Yeah.
Um, Depends, depends every time.
Okay. This is always like one of my favorite scenes in like the Grease Stained Billionaire. The ones that I watched up to anyway was the ring scene on the
Yeah,
plane.
yeah.
I lost my collective marbles when I watched it. Her reaction was gold. Like you pulled these out.
See that you got to talk to Sophie. She's so good. She's so good. Yeah, I didn't really eat the ring. Sorry, it's a lot of pretend business. Um, it was, it was really funny because that I remember that was in, I'm pretty sure that was in one of the audition sides. And so like I, like sort of full well knew that this was one of this was one of the, the plays we were doing. Um, but it was really fun to have, like the contrast of sort of like, like Leif and Mariah having, sort of their thing going on, and then, Sophie and I get to show up and just be, these buffoons, just like bumbling all over the place, just like whatever the most ridiculous, whatever sort of the most ridiculous thing is. But it's so fun to get to play into that, like out like how despicable, like very like very Disney villain sort of sort of bit, like very like, you know, sort of like I don't know, like that style of comedy reminds me a lot of sort of like Emperor's New Groove kind of stuff where you're watching these people
Yes.
and you're sort of like, well, it is like we do hate them, but they're ridiculous. But we do hate them. Oh, but they're having a moment. Oh, but we still hate them. Yeah, we're gonna come back to it.
You
Um,
guys played that off so well. And especially like, oh, I think it was in like the first episode when she came in stuck to your zipper. I
oh
lost.
man,
Oh, that was hilarious.
I think I was just talking to somebody about this. Like had a like I had a really hard time not cracking up in that day in particular. I don't imagine why. Like, I mean, poor Sophie. Sophie, I don't think got up from there. Like, she was down, just kind of laying down on that gurney for hours. Like, it took a lot. We shot that took a long time to shoot. Um, but I like I think I watched it. I had to look back and see they very gracefully cut around me losing me, like absolutely breaking character, especially when Mariah comes up really close to me. Because she delivered it so well, but I was just it like she's so funny. She's such a funny human. That it just like I just couldn't keep my shit together. Like
I'm gonna
absolutely
go
could
and
not.
watch it now for like the little smirks of you trying
Oh,
to stay in character.
I think that yeah, you're either gonna catch smirks or you're gonna catch a lot of not my face, and then when there's a lot of not my face, it's 100% because I couldn't hold it together. Like usually I can hold it together for like a full one. Not that one. Not that one. Not that day.
That was the first thing that I saw in like the whole. I was like, what is going on? And Sophie was just screaming.
Oh man, she has she has like metal lungs or something. Like she like because every day she had to scream like that every day, multiple
That was
takes.
like the most authentic scream that I've heard.
Oh yeah, yeah. She
Unless they dubbed it, obviously.
Nope. That's her.
Oh,
That's all her, man. That is
that's
all
wicked.
her. That's 100%. That's 100% her pipes. She's just got great pipes. She's like I don't know if she sings. I should ask her. But yeah, she was just shrieking that whole shoot and didn't lose her voice. Uh, props, proper pro. Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah.
What type of character do you feel brings out your best performance?
Whew. Um, I like either really silly comedy or like dark and serious as a heart attack. Uh,
Are you sure you can hold composure? Like,
no, not anymore. Not anymore. I'm not sure of anything anymore. I think like for me, like I love, especially in the vertical role, I really love the comedies. But also just because like it's a really easy way, easy. Like I mean, maybe easy is not the right word. Like it's easy when you're given the right script.
mm,
To make beats happen and to have interesting things happen, to have flips happen, and like via character revelation or physical comedy or whatever the medium is. And I I I love playing around with that stuff. The sort of like the I really also do like a lot darker, more serious sort of roles. But I mean I think I don't know. That's the bit also where like most stand-up comedians who I know are way darker than any musician I've ever met. You know, like if you think musicians are moody, but like comedians, it's it's the darkest room you've ever been in, you know? They're you know, I think that's at least in my understanding of it, that's where a lot of sort of the draw to comedy is because they're like, you know, they're sitting with both of these halves, and a lot of the times, like that's what makes some of that stuff so funny, you know. At least if the joke is right. Um, but I don't know. I think that for me, getting to play into, you know, either like sort of very like very serious stuff that maybe has a little more connection to sort of real life stuff sometimes is what I'm best used for but also sometimes I'm best used for like a bit or a joke like I can really hard swing either way. um I don't know if I can do it with the same character necessarily, probably not in this format, not yet. I haven't seen that script yet, but
Or if you're working with Sophie.
oh my God, yeah, yeah. So as long as I'm working with Sophie, that'll be fun.
I love
But
that.
yeah, yeah, I think that like either one of sort of those alleys. But I think that that's the bit where, especially for verticals, you know, people are watching it for different things, and I feel like
Mm,
there's sort of a growing divide. I think we're going to see more of a diversification of sort of the genres and the storylines tailored to more sort of like subgroups, sort of viewer subgroups. So like some people who really want, you know, the common theme, as I've understood it, is, you know, sort of like escapism and getting to, you know, getting to really immerse yourself in a world that's very different and, you know, and rich and entertaining. But for some people, that might look like a bunch of laughs, and for some people, that might look like a really, you know, dramatic, really like, you know, watching people go through really hard stuff. You know, I think it's just whatever works for you. I don't know. I like as long as the beats make sense and the story is good, I'm here for all of it.
me too.
Brilliant.
Might take me a while to watch one, but
Yeah, but that's yeah. I think that some. I mean, some of like I really like a lot of sort of like 1950s sort of Cold War spy era stuff, like a lot of sort of like Jean Le Carré stuff. But I was going back and I was watching recently a bunch of like not quite film noir from the 50s, like so like like film it was still made in the 50s, but some stuff that was a little more sort of like spy-y, but it was almost like comedy. And honestly, the acting and the beats are the same as Verticals. I was really surprised at like, you know, that you can tell they're not you can tell that it was really a lot before reality TV. It was before sort of like, you know, the special effects race of the, you know, the 70s and 80s where, you know, they're showing up, they know they're on screen. They are saying things in a way that does not sound naturalistic, but it does sound entertaining. And it's really interesting to me to see that we've kind of come full circle in that.
yeah.
It's they're not doing, you know, they're taking longer to do it, but they're not taking a lot longer to do it. It's not very far off the mark at all. It's really what it's maybe a half an hour longer than a total vertical
Mhm.
series is. Not bad.
Mhm.
And black and white, but you know, before the world was color. Don't listen to me.
What is your biggest fear as an actor?
Not working. That's the 100% that. I will. The only thing I can think of that would be worse than not working, um, is it is like being a part of. How can I say this? like being up, like somehow being involved in the creation of something that makes people's lives worse.
Yeah.
Like I
No, but
think,
that makes sense though.
yeah, like I think that there's a lot of discussion right now in yeah, I feel like in a lot of the vertical world about, how people are getting these, how like some of the plot techniques that are being used to get people to the next sort of cliffhanger ending or whatever it is, to support the format. And, I think there was one, I do remember that, like, I think there's only been one script that I read and was like, I'm not even gonna audition for this. Because it was too many, it was just, like, it was too dark without a reason. Um,
Yeah.
it was too dark without a reason, and then it was like an unresolved ending. And I was like, there's no way I am going to be a part of this thing that like someone people are going to have paid money for,
Yeah.
suffered through like, nearly an hour of a lot of things happening to these characters and then not get the ending resolved. No, thank you. Like I don't, like no one needs that. I really wish, like best of luck to if that ended up getting made to whoever ended up having to deal with that, because I do also understand that like especially for a lot of these people who are working, back to back to back to back to back, they sometimes like some week you're gonna get handed a script that you're like, ugh, not my fave. Um, and I appreciate it. It really does help when people speak up and are like, not that one. Because that's the only way they know, apart from being like, that didn't do very well, or like maybe it does well, but for the wrong
Yeah.
reasons. Like I think, especially being someone who works in this world, that's that's my next biggest fear, apart from just not having work.
Which is fair.
Yeah, it's a little different tiers, but yeah.
If you could shine a spotlight on one of your verticals for viewers as a must watch, which one would it be and why?
Ooh. Um, I will. I I think I will say, "Till Divorce Do Us Part," directed by Danny Farber. Thanks, Danny. Partially because I think like I it's not necessarily that I don't want to shine a spotlight on Grease Stained Billionaire. I think the timing of that and the fact that Leif and Mariah have such a the timing of it, the fact that it is as good as it is, and the fact that Leif and Mariah have both such a following and just did such a good job in it meant that like a lot of eyes got on it, which is great. I don't think that maybe because it came out right before Christmas, like all of a sudden, there was a like big Christmas pile on everybody. Everybody had a Christmas vertical, regardless of how much it actually had to do with Christmas. Which is, like I can't blame him for trying. It's all good. Everyone's got to do something. But I mean, like that one's great. Jean, the director, did a great job with it. He's an amazing guy to work with. But I do think that maybe not quite as many eyes did get on Till Divorce Do Us Part. Casey Esser and Ashley Michelle Grant are the leads in it. They do a great job. Um, but it's just a really fun rom-com. And like a lot of the comedy works really well. And a lot of the you can really tell that um you can really tell that Danny is just like a general sort of like film student, like a student of the art form. Because like like for this that sort of first scene, he's it was with the first scene with a wedding scene, and there are a lot of complicated moving parts. And a lot of the complicated moving parts like he came up with because he was like, yeah, we're gonna do this kind of like Buster Keaton thing. And like it was brilliant. It was so good. And I, he's got a really specific, like him and like Emery and Abdullah were the sort of the two main cameramen on that one, I think. And like they do a great job of making everything look so good. That whole crew. And yeah, I think for for numerous reasons, if not just be like at the very least because the lovely film crew made it look really pretty. You should watch it. But thank you for taking the time. It was lovely to chat with you.
You're beautiful to talk to.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
too. You too. Yeah. Well, there's not, like I feel like also like I don't necessarily like I didn't as you can tell, I did no research before we started to chat. Um but
I
like
did a
you're good. Like but like you're it's I don't know, like this format is really lucky to have you because like you are a very easy person to talk to. You clearly care about the stuff, but also like it's that combo is not automatic, you know. It's not well, I think that it's not always the easiest to you can be like I mean, I can be really passionate about something, but I might be terrible at asking people questions about that, you know?
That's how I felt when I first started. It took me a long time to get the right question.
No, you
It's
nailed it,
like,
mate. You nailed it. You're good. You nailed it.
why, thank you.